This is Smithy.tv.
Hi, I'm Katie Allman reporting for Katie Chats here at Smithy TV in downtown Toronto with comedian Glenn Foster. How did you get the handle That Canadian Guy?
I gave it to myself. No, what happened was I was working in England and I was in some tiny little pub somewhere, and after the show, it was so crowded. As I'm walking out, all I can hear is, "A Canadian guy, he was funny. Oh, that Canadian guy, a Canadian guy, a Canadian." So I thought, it sort of cemented the fact that people don't really pay attention to names. Mm-hmm. But it's more than that. It's not. See, everyone thinks it's a patriotic thing. It's not really that. What it is more of a joke of, you'll watch a Canadian show or movie or something like that. And if you're talking about the next day, you go, "Oh, who was in it? Oh, that Canadian guy."
Totally.
Right? So it's that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But
do you think your experience growing up in Cambridge and building hockey sticks has helped you to be more authentically a Canadian guy?
I think you're misinformed. I did not personally build any hockey sticks. But Cambridge used to be Galt, Preston, and Hespeler. That was my first experience with amalgamation. Mm-hmm. But Hespeler, when they still made wooden hockey sticks, made hockey sticks. It was like, a stick that people knew the name of. If you said Hespeler, they'd go, "Oh yeah, the hockey stick."
Awesome.
So,
what inspired you to go into comedy initially?
When meat chicks couldn't play guitar initially. No, I was always a fan of comedy. My dad was a fan of comedy. We used to watch comedy, old comedy movies, Bob Hope, that sort of stuff, believe it or not, which, if I watched it now, I'd probably go, eh. But at the time,
Mm-hmm. Okay. What's your process like? How do you come up with jokes and craft your act as you go?
I wish I knew, because I would come up with a lot more. I don't know. To me, the best jokes. I mean, I do have a gig with Sun News, and I try to come up with jokes about the news. Mm-hmm. So I can do the process of sitting down and actually trying to come up with a joke about X topic, mm-hmm. right? But for me, the best jokes are the ones that just pop into my head, and I have no idea where they came from. Mm-hmm. Looking back, you might go, "Yeah, all right, I have a vague idea where that came from." Mm-hmm. But I'm pretty lucky in a sense that a joke will sort of show up in my head, mostly fully formed, right? Or at least the idea is fully formed, and then I'll go out and try it, and if it doesn't quite work, then I know I gotta tweak something, change something. I have a rule. What I do is I will try a joke once, right? And then if it doesn't work, I will try it another 500 or 600 times. No. I do find that I'm a bit of a, I guess, almost fanatical in my, you call it process, mm-hmm. right, of listening back to something and saying, well, I think I could, move that this way, or, push something back to the front. It's sounding less and less funny, mm-hmm. as I talk about it, mm-hmm. but I mean, there's certain, 5 or 6 minute bits that I have gone through 30 different versions of type thing, just moving words, changing sentences, pushing one idea forward and pushing the other. I mean, everything starts with a kernel of a joke, and to develop it into a quote-unquote bit. Like I had a bit that I did a couple years ago at the Montreal Comedy Festival, and it ended up being a pretty long bit, like 3.5 minute bit, about this whole, we were experiencing a higher than normal volume of calls. Okay. That started with one joke, which was, well, if it's always higher than normal, that's not higher than normal, that's normal, right? Now higher than normal is higher than normal. Yeah. Right? So it started with that one kernel and ended up being a 3.5 minute bit, right?
Okay. And what do you think, I mean, you've had so much experience, what do you think makes a joke funny, if you can speak to that?
What makes a joke funny? Oh boy. That's a tough one. I think partly what it is I know in my case, I'm giving, it's almost like I've given you this little puzzle, and I've given you most of the pieces, but you hopefully have a piece in your head already, like a reference type thing. Yep. any subject you can name, you already carry certain references in your head about that. So if I can give you these pieces of a puzzle and you connect all that together with what's already in your head, just a second before I say it, right? Then that, yeah, not funny at all as I explain it, but
yeah. So there has to be some part of relatability.
It either has to be a self-contained joke whereby I give you all the pieces that you need to assemble the joke in the setup, or it has to be a joke where the piece that completes is already in your head and you find that yourself with the bits that I give you. I like to think that my jokes are almost like IKEA, you know, there's like a few missing parts until you go, oh yeah.
And you have Prickly coming out soon. What can we expect on that?
Prickly is called, I did a show at the Rose Theatre in Brampton. And so I was looking for my background is advertising, right? Or as I like to say, I used to work in advertising, but now I use my powers for good. But, so I was looking for a connection to Rose, right? So I was thinking things like, oh, you know, blooming at the rose, or blooming mad, or right, whatever. And I finally came up with Prickly, which is good because it describes me. Not only is it a good rose analogy, you know, rose connection, prickly, rose. Thorny was another possibility, but that looked almost like horny when you put it on the typeface. But okay, now I've lost my train of thought.
So it describes you as a person.
It describes me as that's right. Thank you. Yes, it describes me as this 50-something guy who's just pissed off with a lot of stuff. You know, so prickly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And what types of material can we expect on there?
Funny, yeah. There's a lot of stuff on there that is, my favorite jokes are the ones that go right to the edge of, is that funny or is that, in fact my line for it is, people, we draw these lines, especially in Canada, you know, we'll say, well that's not funny, that's offensive. No, it's funny and offensive.
Yeah, it's right? Not offensive if it's funny.
That's my whole thing. My whole thing is if you don't laugh and then tell me it's not funny. Yeah. Funny is it whether it's offensive or not, no matter what the topic or whatever, right? If you laugh, you laughed, right? It's funny. Don't come back and say, oh, I'm sorry I laughed at that. That was a complete mistake. I didn't mean. Those are my favorite jokes. The ones where people laugh despite themselves, despite what they're, you know, their personal feelings about the subject matter joke, whatever, right?
Absolutely. And what are your goals for the future?
Just stay alive, really, at this point. I don't know. People ask, you know, what do you want to do? All I ever wanted to do is what I do in bigger places for more money. Right?
So, absolutely. Don't we all?
Exactly.
And where's the best place to find out more information on you and on Prickly and on your shows online?
You could go to my website, which is thatcanadianguy.com.
Great. Well, thank you so much. This was a pleasure, and congratulations on all your success, and best of luck with the upcoming projects.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm Katie Ullman reporting for Katie Chats here at Smithy TV in downtown Toronto.